to the National Farmers and General Workers Cooperative Credit Union live broadcast. Today we have with us Mr. James Robert Lay. He is the founder and CEO of Digital Growth Institute out in Houston, Texas, and also the general manager of the National Farmers and General Workers Cooperative Credit Union, Mr. Brian John. Now, today we face economic upheaval, potentially more severe than we've witnessed in the global financial crisis of the past. The corona pandemic is a different kind of talk, and never before has modern economies and businesses face such a issue. With members and people losing their employment in the hospitality sector, and other businesses shutting down or temporarily scaling down, we are facing issues in terms of people's income, ability to financially manage their day-to-day activities. So today, we're going to speak with Mr. John and Mr. Lay and look at what National Farmers is doing now to deal with these issues, as well as what could happen internationally in banking and finance, and how we can move in a digital system to deal with the issues that we face today. So we'll start off with you, Mr. John, and then we'll move over to Mr. Lay. Can you give us an idea of what's happening with the National Farmers and General Workers Cooperative Credit Union as we move forward through this global crisis?
Good morning, cooperators. And by that, I mean all our members and all the customers who traffic at our counters. I'd like to start by saying that I read a quote from the CEO or chief economist of JP Morgan, and he made a statement how that the environment is one of Knightian uncertainty, and he addressed that to mean an unknown for which we cannot even quantify the outcomes. And that is what we're faced with today. And the National Farmers, being sensitive to that position, has extended several strategies in which to assist its members, one of which is to allow waivers, which previously we did not. There's a difference between waivers, moratorium. Previously, we offered moratorium when members had issues with paying their loans. Now, moratorium is the payment of interest, whilst the principal component of the repayment is postponed. With the waivers, it's 100% postponement. Both interest and principal is postponed. So that means that no income is coming into the National Farmers. That's one of the main things that we have done for our members. Other things that we have done concerns health and safety, whereby we insist that every member or customer that enters our premises must sanitize their hands on entry and on exit. We're also looking at our staff, whereby we have provided them with gloves, masks, and information relating to COVID-19 and the means by which to keep safe. So these are the preliminaries as far as I'm concerned going forward.
And Mr. Lay, what is the feeling like in Houston, Texas right now in terms of banking, finance, and how the American government and the state of Texas is dealing with this issue?
So good morning. Thank you for having me today. It's good to talk to both of you. What's going on here in Houston and Texas and the United States at large is we are seeing almost a complete economic shutdown as everyone is being told to stay home, protect yourself. We don't want you going out. We don't want you about. Go to the grocery store and go to the pharmacy, and that's about it. I see that this is one of the most challenging times, one of the most dynamic times that we've ever faced, not only as a state, as a country, but what we're seeing is something that's going to affect every single one of us across the global community. And I see, though, that as challenging as this might be, this is one of the biggest opportunities for community financial institutions to step up and really provide two things. Number one, help. Number two, hope for the people in the communities that they serve.
Okay, so Mr. John, going off of what Mr. Lee just said there, hope and help. What will National Farmers do to ensure that its members have access to services and resources? Hope and help.
Hope and help. Very interesting terms indeed, because we need hope. Whereas before, maybe lots of people didn't believe in hope. Right now, it's essential, hope and faith and help. In terms of help, National Farmers intends to open up its doors as soon as the curfew was lifted. That way, members can come in to get cash, to get essentials and needs. Because as you have seen, there would be a shortage based on the curfew that was imposed. And members, as well as the public, are very, very, very strained in terms of what are the bare essentials that they need. So therefore, we would be opening our doors tomorrow on the facts of the report from the PM last night, which lifted the curfew from 24 hours to 10 hours. We would still maintain social distancing. So therefore, it would mean that the number of members and customers that we would be able to serve tomorrow will not be as we intended. Therefore, we would stretch the time of our opening for the full days that the PM has given: Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and Saturday. In terms of hope, we are, through our marketing officer, Mr. Dave Charles, have been sending out communiques to the staff and members and public at large to be safe, to keep together and hold the fort, because we need to follow the protocols already established by the government and as well internal protocols. This will maintain the safety. As far as help is concerned, we're looking at a community-based program whereby each can assist the other. We're trying to imitate some of what we have seen internationally, whereby members have become the brothers of others. So therefore, if you have and you can assist, you assist. Okay. So we would be encouraging that kind of thing.
Right. Briefly, just tell me about what you're doing with the Caribbean Insurance Institute, and then we'll move over to Mr. Lee. I have some questions for him.
Okay, as far as CUNA is concerned, which insures both our loans and our savings, actually, some of our members were very concerned that in losing their incomes, their premiums would lapse. I've written to CUNA on both instances, both for the FIP and the loan insurance, and have, in the first instance, received assurance from CUNA that the premiums for the FIP would be deferred for 3 months. I've also written to them on the loans premium, which is the premium that we bear, and it's a considerable sum annually, pretty close to 800,000 EC dollars. And I'm awaiting their response, which I think will be positive in terms of a deferment for us as well. Now, in so doing, it will put liquidity into our coffers to further enable us to assist our members and customers.
Okay. Mr. Lee, you're the Digital Growth Institute. Speak to that and tell me, how is digital technology going to change or going to come into more demand or into play for us as the National Farmers Credit Union, for the globe, for the world in this crisis, and what will finance, banking, and maybe services look like moving forward?
That's a very good question. So I'm going to take this in two different ways. Number one, what we're seeing right now is the COVID-19 health crisis. Very quickly following that will be the COVID-19 financial health crisis. And it is so good to hear what you at National Farmers and General Workers Credit Union are already doing to help empower your members and communities. When it comes to digital, I see this as an approach of triage and treatment. And what I mean by that is, in this moment of triage, we have to put people at the center of all of our thinking and doing. We have to put our members at the center of all of our thinking and doing. And communication will be key. So things like we're doing right now, video communication, letting people know what we're doing as a financial institution, letting them know how we might be able to help them, particularly here in the United States. It sounds like you've had a curfew lifted, so people might be able to come into the branch. That's not exactly the case of what we're seeing here, as people are being told to stay home. A lot of financial institutions have been closed, so the alternative solution to that is video communication. In the longer term, we're going to see a change in consumer behavior and the way that people bank. Digital will continue to rise, and providing access to digital, whether it be digital banking, mobile banking, or communication, will be central to any strategy going forward.
Thank you so much. Mr. John, can you speak to that on behalf of National Farmers?
Yeah, I agree with Mr. Lay in all of the things that he has raised. But I must say that unfortunately, National Farmers is on the back foot as far as digitization is concerned. Probably a good thing emanating from COVID is that it will force us to digitize. Because right now, I mean, we are really strategizing with this modus of communication, which we will continue to do, so that we spread the word to the members. And it will not only be something for COVID, we will continue with this kind of communication going forward. But also, we do not have an ATM system. And right now we're seeing that with COVID and the lack of cash and the need for people to get essentials is very, very critical that we get mobile banking and ATMs. It is definite. So therefore, it's a lesson learned in the whole confusion of the pandemic.
Mr. Lee, you've written a book. Could you give us some idea about what's in there and how is this information going to both help and contribute to the strategies moving forward for organizations like ours, National Farmers, General Workers, Cooperative Credit Union, and banking at large?
Yes. So the book, Banking on Digital Growth, it's funny. COVID-19 has actually forced us to delay that release about 1 month. So the new release date is May 19th, 2020. To your point, Brian, John, yes, this situation has forced a lot of change, but we have an opportunity as leadership to either take action or stay the same. Those that take action and use this as a situation to not only improve but better themselves will come out on the other side. Anytime a crisis presents itself, the initial reaction might be of fear, it might be of timidity, but as I write in the book, we're seeing changes already happening on the consumer side, on the competitor side, all because of technology. Even in the environmental side of things, of what we're seeing here with COVID-19. So what I write in the book, Banking on Digital Growth, is a strategic blueprint of how any community financial institution, any regional financial institution, any global financial institution can continue to transform and optimize their business model for growth beyond just branches, beyond just traditional broadcast marketing, but to be that of one of a digital or a mobile first strategy.
All right, so the book comes out next month. How are we able to get access to it? Is it going to be on Amazon?
Yes, it'll be on Amazon, will be a primary release, and then we'll also be having it in other digital channels as well. Barnes and Nobles, I believe, is one. Walmart here in the States, but Amazon will be a primary delivery channel for the book.
Excellent. Excellent. Mr. John, the members, are they able from tomorrow, excluding Friday and Saturday, to access loan services or any other services?
Well, the primary services that we are thinking of offering would be withdrawals, because as you know, there will also be a window open for supermarkets and small mini marts. So therefore, people would be more interested in withdrawing cash if they can. We are also looking at the fact that possibly some may ask for cash secured loans. And if that is the case, we may have one, just in anticipation of that, we may have one loans officer on hand. But definitely, I am of a firm view that the move would really be to try to get cash, to quickly get to the supermarkets and mini marts, to try to stock up on essentials at home.
Okay, so we have Mr. Francis on our Facebook Live. He's saying, he's talking about mobile banking, and he's talking about the ATM services being paramount right now. Mr. John, Mr. Lay, any one of you want to jump in on that?
Well, you cannot underscore that fact. I mean, whereas previously some community-based credit unions were probably either reluctant or probably did not have enough funds to go that way. Now it is critical that we do that. And those that cannot raise the funds to do it can perhaps group up with others, as a group, and therefore reduce the unit cost to each participating member. But definitely, I mean, it is the way to go going ahead. We cannot exist in another such pandemic with the same old historic archaic models. Our models must change.
Mr. Lay, I want to just speak to ATM services and the path right now. There are some suggestions, and I really cannot speak on it in terms of transfer of the virus via plastic and all of those and paper. We're getting a lot of information out there. How is digital formatting and digital banking going to help us through this? And is it really a perfect strategy for the time? Also, I want to speak about digital money, digital finance, and
digital
how that improvement.
Yeah, so let's take two parts to that. Number one, I think it's very important for a financial brand as they move forward and make progress along a journey of digital growth to not remember to not forget the most important thing, and that is that we are dealing with people, human beings, flesh and blood, and we should use these digital technologies to bring people together. That's the very first, because I've seen financial institutions over the years get so focused on digital that we forget the people side of things. I loved what John, what you said. We are, particularly for credit unions, we are collaborative, we are cooperative, and we can pool our resources together to gain new capabilities. We're seeing new capabilities all the time rise throughout the world in fintech, financial technology. So there are new capabilities that we can bring to our members, to our communities. The second part of that is around digital currency. I believe that what we're seeing with this COVID-19 crisis, digital currency, it will gain prominence, but from an infrastructure perspective, it might be some time before we see that across scale. We are seeing little bits and pieces here of that. For example, Apple Pay, but to have that infrastructure throughout, it might be some time before we see that at wide scale adoption.
Excellent. Thank you very much. So, Mr. John, Mr. Lee, we really like to thank you for coming on. We know you're really, really busy. This has been an amazing discussion. I want to go back through some things. Mr. John, could you just run us through the opening tomorrow, going through Saturday? I believe that we're going to be seeing senior citizens first from 8 o'clock to 9 o'clock, and then from 9 to 12, everybody else. Is there any particular format that will happen for the withdrawals as to not have a line outside or people connecting?
It will be difficult not to have a line because people would want to get to the premises to get the cash. We would recognize and respect social distancing, and within the five allowed, our strategy will be the first 5 will go in, and then we will encourage the next group, which is the next 5, to fill out the withdrawals. Somebody, a member of staff, will collect those withdrawals, go to back office, make a comparison of the signatures to make sure that signature verification is in fact agreed. Because even in the throes of COVID, you need to maintain proper banking form, and then take these forms and start to prepare the cash for those members, the next group coming in. Now, our strategy might be to dictate denominations for members, because normally you would ask a member, how do you want your cash? So they would tell you 20s, 50s, or whatever. But to be efficient and expedient, we will need to dictate the denomination. So we pay you, so the cash will be prepared, double check as the members come in, they get it, they get out. We would maintain the same protocols of hand sanitizing on entry and on departure. So, and we would maintain the 6-foot social distancing. So that is why I said that it would be difficult not to have a line, because if you calculate in your mind 6 feet, 6 feet, 6 feet for groups of 5, it will take a long line.
Okay, MoneyGram services, is that available as well?
That will be available depending on the system and structure. If it is up and running, yes, but up to the limit previously outlined. And I'm hoping that our members and customers would understand that we're trying our best to assist them. Okay. We know that essentials are necessary at this time. We also know that they need to stock up, but we would implore that they exercise respect for what we're trying to do, the social distancing, the fact that we're trying to transact with them as speedily, as expeditiously as we can, and that we are human as well as they. And we are also afraid of COVID, just as they. So it's safety on both sides of the line, and respect, and being humane.
Right. Could you speak to the deposit policy that you've put in place with the deposit envelopes and the drop box?
Yeah. As we go along, you'll notice that social distancing seems to take the brunt of the topics. It's in lieu of that the deposit, the envelopes came about. I mean, this is a feature of the marketing officer, Mr. Dave Charles. I mean, not that I'm trying to blow him up too much, but it came from him. And what we're doing is something similar to what the commercial banks have been doing when you have check deposits. You place the funds in the envelope. The envelopes have already printed denominations. You take them out, you calculate, and you total the funds, you seal it. You would sign across the seams of the envelope, and then they would be received. The envelopes would be received and counted on the dual custody and the deposits made. So a deposit slip would be afforded to you. So you complete that, place the deposit slip in the envelope with the funds, and then the funds would be counted on the dual custody and your account credited.
And that's the implementation of the express deposit for farmers. SurePay services, is that available? Because I know a lot of people are trying to pay their utilities. So are you
Um, to be frank, we would try to do as much as we possibly can, but it might be a tall order within the space that we have. But if Shopee is up and running, we'll try to deal with Shopee. The same way we would try to deal with MoneyGram. The same way we'll try to deal with deposits and cash withdrawals. It will be a tall order, but we have flexibility among our staff, and also the staff are reasonable in their approach to COVID. I have every confidence that they will put out the best for tomorrow and the days ahead in assisting our members and customers alike.
Okay, Mr. Lay, we're going back to what you spoke of in terms of not forgetting the human aspect of digital banking. How can digital banking be more interactive so that the human being on the other side does not feel that they just dealing with automated service at all? Because I'm sure there's the possibility to integrate some kind of human touch to the whole experience.
Yeah, that's a very good question. The way that I look at this is from a formulaic approach. Digital experience, or DX plus HX, human experience working together. Empathy, something Brian John, what you just said, respect, being respectful of the other person, putting yourselves in the shoes of that person. What are they feeling? What are they experiencing right now? And when we think about creating these digital experiences, it's not about what we as the financial institution needs. It's what the person on the other side of that experience needs at that moment in their life. And what people need right now, I said it before, help and hope, but also security, access to cash to get those basic essential needs. I'm very encouraged by what the team at National Farmers and General Workers Credit Union is doing during this time to assist the people of St. Lucia.
Okay, and again, book, date release, where can we get it? And some highlights of what to expect in there.
So May 19th, Banking on Digital Growth. We'll have a preview at bankingondigitalgrowth.com. What I mentioned before, it is a strategic blueprint framed around 9 specific key areas for a financial brand to build a digital growth strategy centered not around technology, but using technology to bring people together in a post-COVID-19 world.
Excellent. Mr. John, any final words from you?
My position and the position of the National Farmers, if I may, is that I wish that everybody stays safe, respect the protocols of the government, try to think about survival, but not survival in the animalistic way, but survival for all. So therefore, if we do that, everybody would respect the space of everybody. You would have unity in assisting one another. People would understand if something is a little bit slow. It's still coming, but it's just slow. I mean, and this COVID has brought so many facets of human nature out in display. Some very good, some not so good. And I think there are several lessons in there for us, not only the financial, because right now, if you look at the financial, all forecasts have been, must be laid aside to revisit and go back to the drawing board. But it has taught us a lot about human nature, about resilience and respect. And therefore, to me, I trust that it has brought us closer together, more unified, and more understanding and respectful of the human being and what we try to do to one another, to be more kind and to really, as a unit, the NFG, forge our path ahead. Because before we spoke a lot, right? Now is a time of more action than thought. So going forward, let us try to raise our credit union to the levels that we think that we should. I mean, we have been on the back foot for a little, this may be our opportunity within all the confusion to rise above. So I hope that we see it as that, and we take the opportunity as it comes and handle our path going forward. Our strategy is open. I mean, I don't think our apex body or our regulators will try to stand in our way. But whatever we do, we have to respectfully remember that we are under an umbrella, the league, and we have a regulator, the FSRA.
Mr. Lee, final words.
We are all in this together. A crisis presents us as human beings with two choices. As Brian John was mentioning, we can go into the negative, dark places, or we can choose the path of light. We can choose to be the rock that people cling to in the sea of chaos as a financial brand. And that is my hope for financial brands, financial institutions around the world. Be the rock that people cling to.
Excellent. Thank you very, very much. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for joining us here on the web live series of the National Farmers Notes of Interest. This program will continue moving forward. Just want to remind you that we're open tomorrow from 9 to 12. Senior citizens from 8 to 12, sorry, senior citizens from 8 to 9, and 9 to 12, the regular members. We are going to try as much as possible to have the services of MoneyGram and Shopee available. We're really going to focus on getting the first 5 people in, and then we're going to have a system where you can fill out your withdrawal slip. It's going to be numbered. You could attach your telephone number to the back, and we're going to take those in, process them in order, and call you in order that you may actually receive your funds. You would have to tabulate on the back how you would like your cash divided or separated, or in the notes that easy for you, and we'll try our best to accommodate you as much as possible. Bearing in mind that we're looking for people who really need to come to the credit union. So if you can hold back, we're open for the week, which is Tuesday to Thursday, and then on Saturday. So you don't really need to rush in tomorrow. Let's try to be as safe and as responsible as possible. We're also encouraging you to wear your mask as you come out, or as the Ministry of Health recommended, that you get a rag and cover your face. Remember that that rag, once you go back home, has to be washed, sanitized, rinsed, and hanged if you're going to reuse it. As you come through the credit union, remember you are going to be asked to sanitize, and you will be required to keep safe distance from each other. Thank you very much. Have an amazing Monday and be safe.
Thank you.